Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast, formerly known as Her Story on a Plate. This podcast has always been a space for deep, nuanced conversations about food, body image, and the stories our bodies carry. But as conversations have grown, so has our mission.
That's why this is now the Body Peace Podcast, a name that reflects what we're truly here for, helping you step off the battlefield with your body and move toward more compassion, connection, and ease.
Each episode will bring real, honest dialogue with your hosts, me, I'm Jennie Kramer,
and me, Nina Manolson. We'll also be joined by guests whose personal stories and professional wisdom offer new ways of thinking, feeling, and being in your body.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast. Welcome to Her Story on a Plate, a place for real talk about real bodies.
Let's dish about our complex relationships to food and bodies.
We are two in the field coming at this from an anti-diet, your body holds wisdom approach.
This podcast is all about changing the conversation we have in our heads and culture so that we can embrace ourselves fully. So we're talking about compare and despair today. And the reason we're talking about it is because after Jennie and I dropped the first 6 episodes of Her Story on a Plate podcast, we were getting wonderful feedback. It felt great. And people said lovely things about all of us. And the first thing we got back together, Jennie and I, to have a chat. And I said, oh my gosh, Jennie, I have to come clean. Everything people said, every time they said something really great about you, I was like, yeah, she's better. She's so smart. She's so articulate. I just went so deep into compare and despair. And then the funnier part was that then Jennie said, oh my gosh, me too. I started to compare too.
No,
and right then
I
we
actually
said,
went into full out imposter syndrome. Full out.
Full out imposter syndrome. Well, there we go. Right. So then we were like, okay, let's do an episode about how we compare and then end up in despair.
I think it's cross-cultural. I think it's intergenerational. I think it's cross-gender. I really do think that most people, whether they even realize they're doing it or not, are constantly comparing themselves to others, right? The most obvious comparison usually has to do with body size. And it's important to say out loud that that's based on whatever ideas we have in our head about what being in a particular body size means. So what does our culture tell us? Well, if you are thin, you are disciplined. If you are disciplined, you will do better in life. You will, you're just smarter, right?
And you'll get the love and you'll get the success and you'll get all the good things, right? And that shows up. I really see it show up for women around social currency. Women talk to me all the time about walking into a room, looking around the room and figuring out, am I bigger than her? Am I smaller than her? Who's the smallest? And that calculation is social currency. Who's got the most power? Who's the most successful?
This is also about, oh my God, it touches on so many things. Let's just try to unwrap them all. One is about age. I think age is built into this, right? Youth is better. Youth is smarter, not necessarily, but youth means more possibility. And that's what most think. They don't understand, of course, until they're in it, that youth also brings knowledge and some peace, we hope. But the age thing comes into play with body size because people compare, especially if you're in the public light, what people used to look like. I mean, I'm seeing all over social media now interviews that are done now with all of the members of Friends. And they are comparing them to what they looked like in the episodes, which 20 years ago?
When they were
25 years ago, right? And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, how must they feel to constantly be compared?
Right.
I would only hope they think like, well, okay, so for one, we're smarter than we were, we know more than we knew, we're more successful than we were, but that's not what people are seeing. What they're seeing is,
No.
oh, look at them, they're aging.
What happened
What?
to her? That's the
Right.
headline. Look what happened to her, right? Oh my gosh, you had the audacity to age, to
Mm-hmm.
change, right? And it's so important to highlight that concept of comparison. We're not just comparing ourselves to other people, we're comparing ourselves to who we
Right.
used to be, right? Every time someone says, I want to get into my skinny jeans from years ago, that's
And
comparison.
the
That's body
and the
comparison.
ultimate irony, I want to look like I looked 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years.
Of
However,
course.
when I was in that body 10 years ago and 20 years ago and 30 years ago, I thought I looked cool. I
Yeah,
thought I was fat. I'd
right.
give anything to be in the body I
Hmm.
was in then. So imagine if you could just appreciate the body you're in while you're acting. It's
Now, right now, this is it. No, my mom, who's 92, says she looks at pictures of when she was young and goes, what was I thinking? What was I thinking that my body was not okay? I was lovely,
you just reminded me
right?
there's an exercise that we sometimes do in some of the groups that I facilitate where folks bring in photos of themselves from childhood to wherever they are on their timeline now. So, depending on how old they are, they'll bring in pictures, let's say every 5 years, right? And they're looking at this
Mm-hmm.
timeline of photos. You can imagine how much it brings up. But one of the things it inevitably brings up is, how is it that my mother put me on a diet when I was 7? Look how cute I was. Look how cute
Yes.
I was. Why
Yeah.
did I think I was
Yeah.
fat and disgusting when I was 13? I was cute as a button. So
Yeah.
imagine if you could see
Right.
yourself through your future eyes now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so powerful. I do a similar but a little bit different exercise where I ask women, so from 0 to 5, how did your body change? From 5 to 10, how did your body change? 10 to 15, all the way up. And then what did you notice? Oh, my body was always changing. Well, there it
That's how you know
is.
you're alive.
Our body is all right. That is the condition of life. That is evolution. That is what happens to
Mm.
us, right? So if we can be in that place of embracing change, right? We can be in a less comparison
Yeah.
relationship with ourselves. So now if we're,
You've
mhm,
used an expression often, which is the being in the prison of body obsession. I think it's such a powerful phrase because it is prison until you find the key and you open the jail door. It really is. I mean,
it is.
just imagine that you wake up in the morning and instead of looking in the mirror and saying, oh God, imagine if you could look in the mirror and say, I made it through another night. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Another day.
Right. And Jenny, I want to say it's possible. It's possible, right? And I love how you invite, like, imagine this is what we want, but it is possible. We start to believe it's not possible because we're living and breathing this soup of diet
Yes.
culture, of improvement mentality, right? We're always trying to improve something. So, no, like this body. So, let's talk though for a moment about when we walk into a
Mm.
room, right? As a woman, and there's the comparison. Oh, she's cuter. She's got a better bag. She's got better shoes. She's got better hair, like whatever the heck the thing
Hmm.
is. Let's talk about how we actually work with that compare and despair within
Well, I think,
ourselves.
yes, I think there's a few places that we learn that, isn't there? Right? You can learn that certainly if you go to middle school or what we used to call junior high school. You certainly learned it there, right? Our bodies were changing.
Yeah.
We were very hormonal. We were going in and out of friend groups all the time. You can imagine the insecurity. Now, imagine being
Yep.
that age today where there's bullying that's just 24/7 all over social media. It's a whole other story. But we learn it in some of our social settings. We can also learn it
Yeah.
in our homes. Whether we mean to or
Yeah.
not, we can learn it in our homes. Here's what I
Yeah.
see often. There's a heterosexual couple that produces 2 or 3 children. And inevitably, one child looks exactly like one parent, and another child looks exactly like the other parent. And the third child kind of has a combination of both. And one parent might be in a larger body, and one parent might be in a naturally smaller body. And the child that is in the smaller body says, well, okay, phew, glad I got those genes. The other child says, I'm screwed. Look at that. I
Mm-hmm.
got those genes.
Mm-hmm.
Like their whole life
Mm-hmm.
script is written right there. And it's
Oh
blame.
my gosh. Totally. There's so many clients that I've talked to who said, I was at the dinner table with my
Mhm.
family and I was given less because
Less to
I was
eat.
the one in the
Less
big
to eat.
body. Less to eat. I was given less to eat because I was in the
Mm-hmm.
larger body. And my sister, my brother, they could eat whatever they wanted. But if I reached for that sweet, do you really want to do
Mm-hmm.
that? And there's one of the many places we learn
You bet.
comparison, right? I learned comparison in gym
Oh,
classes.
God. Yeah.
It was all ranked. How high could you jump? How far could you swim? How high on the rope could you climb? It was all comparison based. So are grades,
You
right?
realize there are people listening now who could be saying or thinking, well, but you know what? That's just part of life. Because after all, if you want to be successful in life, you have to strive for excellence. And you better know that
Mm-hmm.
someone else is always going to want to be in the spot you're in. And it's really just a matter of being aware so that you know what your competition is.
Okay. Then what I would say to that is yes, we do have a world that compares, and we can be in a place where someone has a strength in, I don't know, climbing a rope in a
Mhm.
gymnasium, but that doesn't need to devalue the worth of everybody else in the room. There's a way to support people's strengths, support people in growing stronger or having more intellectual curiosity or getting more into science without making everybody else who doesn't have that
Mhm.
inclination feel bad about themselves, like they are less worthy.
I think one of the things I want to say out loud too is that if you are someone who has children and your children are anywhere between 5 and 15, you want to really do 2 things. One is to limit the amount of social media that they get exposed to because they don't even
Yeah.
realize how much of the compare and despair culture is in every frame that they see. And the other thing is
Mm-hmm.
to just remind them all the time how wonderful they are, how much you love them, and just really give them very big hugs because that's what the body remembers. The body not only remembers the bullying, the body not only remembers the comparison, but it remembers warm affection, warm hugs. I can't say that enough times.
Absolutely. I remember in grad school studying about adolescence when there'd be two kids in the same home and one would not do well. They were both in high risk homes and one would really struggle in life and one would really
Mm.
thrive. And what was the difference? There was one person that believed in them, one person that said, you are valuable, you are worthy. Just you being you is a powerful thing in the
Mm.
world. And that support imbues a sense of resilience
Remember
in
that words
us.
have meaning. They really do. And
Yeah.
the body remembers the words that you hear. I think
Yeah.
very well intentioned, loving parents say things all the time because they were said to them. And they say things like, as you mentioned before, you sure you want more? You sure you're still hungry? Or they'll say things like,
Mm-hmm.
I would change that. I wouldn't wear that outside. Now, it might make perfect sense in the moment. What the child remembers is, uh-oh, I better be more careful because
Yeah.
I may not look right. And that becomes an obsession forever.
Yeah. There was a memory that popped up, Jenny, when you were talking about like words matter. So I often throw my mom under the bus because she took me to Weight Watchers when I was like 9, which is the beginning of like the mess and a half, and pretty much why I do what I do. But when we would go shopping and I would say, well, let me get this smaller size, I will get smaller and I will fit it. She would look at me and say, no, we buy clothes that make us feel good in the body that we're in. That's how we shop. And that always stayed with me.
Good, good for
Always.
her.
Right? Words matter. Positive words matter. Sure. Did the Weight Watchers thing really mess me up forever? Absolutely. And do I feel good in my clothes all the time? Yes. Do I choose clothes that make me feel truly at home in my body? Yes. Do I open my closet in the morning and not one item of clothing is screaming at me, telling me my body should be different?
Well,
Absolutely.
it's
And
funny that
why? Because I
it's funny
heard
that you
that.
talk about this because there's another form of comparing and despairing. And that is people that have closets that look like stores by size. This is,
Yes.
I have this
Yes.
clothing that's this
Oh,
size, and then I have this that's this size. This is the size that fits. This is the
yep.
size I aspire to. This is the size I'll never be again. I cannot say
Mm-hmm.
loudly and clearly enough. Just make sure that your closet has in it exactly what you wear now. Because when you
Yes.
keep the things that were when your body was some other size, you are setting yourself up for daily comparison all the time. You will never be satisfied in the moment. You'll either be looking at larger clothes and saying, okay, fear factor, got to make sure I'm never that. Looking at smaller
Mm-hmm.
clothes saying, well, why aren't I that size? Why? Because you're probably 30 years older. That's
Right.
why.
Absolutely. Do you want to open your closet and be in the compare and
No.
despair? Do you want to open your closet and have your clothes yelling at you that you're not enough? Or how about opening your closet and being like, all your clothes being like, ooh, what are we in the mood
Mm.
for? What's the style of today? What's the color of today? Right? Let's play. Let's be creative right now.
And
It's a very
this
different
is hard
start.
to hear when you really hate your body, right? There is
Yeah.
no color to pick today. It's going to be black, thank you very much, because I just want
Yes.
to hide my body. And we get
Yeah.
that. We
I
want it that
totally
way. We really,
do.
really do.
I had years of black clothing for that very reason. It's slimming.
Right,
That was the
right.
line.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nobody will know. I wear black,
Absolutely.
nobody will notice. Right.
Oh, it's really, really painful, right? That whole piece of how we harm
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And I do want to invite people into the possibility that it doesn't have to be that way. And I also know people are listening and going, yes, but I paid good money for that
Good. Then you
clothes.
know what?
Like that was
If you
one of my,
paid good money for those clothes, donate them so that other people will benefit from them. Maybe you'll even get a tax write-off if that interests you. But truly, to keep them simply because I paid for them, it's like you're beating yourself with a dollar bill every day. And I'm not putting my
yeah,
hand in anyone's pocket. I understand that sometimes financial situations command what they command. But I'm simply saying that when you set yourself up for a closet that has all comparative items, you will simply never know a moment of peace. You will always be
yeah,
in that prison of body obsession that we talk about all the time. I think that's a really important point.
yeah, it
Mm.
is. The other thing is, so let's just review for a second, right? We talked about comparison with aging. We talked about comparison with other
Mhm.
women walking into a room. We talked about comparison to our previous self. We talked about comparison in terms of size and clothing, right? And we talk also about this comparison to this unrealistic ideal of who we're supposed to be that is based in absolutely nothing except for right? The media, or this idea of who we thought we were going to be when we were
Or the
younger.
the
That's
airbrushed
comparison.
fashion industry, uh, airbrushed
Absolutely.
photos, things that are
Yep.
completely doctored to look a certain way. And
Yes.
at all ages, we're looking at those things and saying, oh, I'll never be that. Or how do I get to be that when it's a created image? It's not even real. It's literally a created image. So
Yeah. That's so
money,
important, right? What's
I think
real?
money,
What is real and
I
what
think
is
money
now?
enters into this. I think
Hmm.
people compare themselves financially also. I'm not as successful as that person, or I have to make sure I'm the most successful person in the room. Listen, great. If you're motivated and you want to create something and it rewards you both financially and in otherwise, yahoo, great for you, right? But remember, there's also this relationship between money and beauty and money and body size that we tend to collapse the two, right? If I
Yeah.
have a lot of money, then I have access to everything I need. And so I should make sure that I'm skinny and thin, because if I'm not going to have the same credibility and I won't make the same amount of money. I mean, this is like a real,
No, no, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thinking. That's the obsession. That's the never
yes,
enoughness,
fair enough.
right? What goes hand in hand with compare and despair is never enough. I am not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not whatever
I'm not
enough.
youthful enough. I'm not clever
Hmm.
enough. I'm not sexy enough. All
Yeah.
of those things. Imagine if
Yeah.
you could wake up in the
Yeah.
morning and just declare, okay, this is a day of enough. I am actually enough. I am more than enough today, whether you believe it or not.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's this idea of affirmations, right? Affirmations are ways in which you tell your body, or you tell your brain, or you tell your soul something in the hopes that eventually you'll listen to yourself. They're aspirational in some ways, but an affirmation can be, I am delicious. I am kind. And just to put it out there, you tell yourself enough times, you will believe it. How do I know this? Because negations work the same way. You tell yourself enough times, I'm fat, I'm disgusting, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that. Guess what? Those you believe in a second. So why not try a positive affirmation instead of the automatic negations that that we tell ourselves all the time?
What you're talking about is this idea, Rick Hanson's idea of our brain is Velcro to the bad, right? It hangs on for survival, and anything that's good just slides off like
Mm-hmm.
Velcro. But I want to say I have a bit of a bone to pick around affirmations because I was a Louise Hay girl. I love my body. I love my body every day in the mirror. And literally, my body laughed at me for 10 years. Like, that is not true. You don't. That's absolutely not the truth. And so affirmations, that sort of be putting something on, did not work for me at all. And what worked for me much better in terms of creating new neural pathways was, this is who I am today, because that felt real. I needed something that felt actually real in the
Mm-hmm.
moment so that my psyche, my whole being could go, okay, that's true. This is who you are today. This is how you're showing up. This is, and I still do it when I look in Zoom, or I look right now when we're recording. Oh, this is what I look like right now. Okay, this is me right now. That is true. I don't have to hype myself up because I won't believe hype. I don't believe hyperbole, but I will believe authenticity. And that has actually helped me make a much more trusting, authentic relationship with my body than
That's
anything
brilliant.
else.
I'll say one final thing before we close, which is think about stress hormones. Think about what happens in your body every time you secretly say to yourself, or you say out loud, I'll never, I can't, I won't, I'm bad, I'm not this, I'm not
Mhm.
that, I'm fat, I'm disgusting, whatever it is you say. Every time you have that, am I thin enough? Do I look okay? Am I ever going to look okay?
Mhm.
Every time you say those things to yourself, you have stress hormones coursing through your body. This has an effect cardiovascularly, it has effect metabolically, and it just crushes your soul. So you want to catch yourself doing
Yeah.
that and simply saying whatever you would say to a young child, whatever you would say to your favorite loving unconditional pet. Say whatever you would say, because I promise you, if my little doggy walked into the room, I would not say, "Are you being your best self
Mm.
today?" I simply wouldn't. I just simply wouldn't. He wouldn't care anyway. But I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would be cuddling and
Yeah.
warm, and imagine if we could be that with ourselves every day.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. It's a beautiful way to end, which is with compassion. Right. So when you notice compare, when you notice the despair, when you notice the not enoughness, oh, I see you. And my favorite thing is put your hand on
Mm,
your heart and do exactly what Jenny just said. What would I say to my pet, to a
mm,
baby, right? Catch it, catch the
mm.
painful, notice it. It's not like we're trying to erase it, like it doesn't exist. There is suffering. We do suffer sometimes in our relationship with
Yeah.
our body. That is real. Notice it and be like, oh, honey, I really hear
Yes.
you. And,
Mm. Thank you, Nina, for such a lovely
thanks,
conversation.
Jenny.
Oh, and you out there, we hope you enjoyed
Please
it too, because I know we did. We're so glad you joined us on this episode of Body Peace.
stay connected as we continue exploring what it means to live in your body with more ease, trust, and care by subscribing to Body Peace on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Be sure to visit us at bodypeacepodcast.com for special bonus content for those on our mailing list.